Does it sound real?
I don't know. We'll have to play it back. We'll have to play it for some birds.
So that one was a little more theatrical.
Well, I prefaced that before we hit record by asking Callie to squawk. But I think that was more of a caw. It was much more delicate than a squawk.
What's a gull? A gull would be like...
A gull is like a... Yeah, closer.
That's like,
What
Ariel.
do they say in Finding Nemo? They're like, mine,
oh, yeah.
mine.
Yeah. Mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of Mermaid off the Port Bow.
Is that from The Little Mermaid? Is
yeah,
that
and
Scuttle?
he's like, hey, Ariel. Yeah.
That's very cute. I love Scuttle.
If you're still listening, I apologize. And welcome to Scream Girls.
Welcome to Scream Girls, the podcast where we rate and review scary movies. And I'm Kaitlin McKenzie.
And I'm Callie Goff.
And if you
Bird woman. Lady Bird.
Lady Bird, Callie Goff. And if you haven't put it together by the title of the episode and all of our screeching, we are talking about The Birds.
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock classic. Our first Hitchcock.
Hitch.
Which we have a lot to say about old Hitch, which we'll get into in due time.
Yeah.
But first, Callie, it's only been a week in the ears of our listeners, but it's been a long time for you and me.
So long.
What's up? What's
Birthday
going
girl.
on? Yeah, 1 week out.
29.
From the day.
Feeling fine.
Sure.
Looking fine.
I would say, thank you. That's so kind. You can't see me now, but I'm wearing a sequined gown and a full Tippi Hedren style updo.
She's never looked better.
No, yeah, I had my B-Day. It's just been, I was telling you earlier, kind of a constant, like, low-grade existential anxiety for the last couple of weeks. I know it's no big deal, and it's not even 30, it's 29, but I feel like 29 is, like, more pressure than 30, because I'm like, all right, I gotta get it all in. I gotta go.
Okay, what do you want to get in?
Oh, God, I don't know. A sense of purpose.
Oh, God. Well.
Travel. I gotta travel. More money.
You're not dying. When you turn 30.
But I don't know. Well, I don't know.
We can travel together.
Okay. Where should we go?
Portugal.
I want to go to this Bodega Bay. I want to go to the place
in
this movie. It looked so nice until the birds.
Portugal.
Guys, we have 3 listeners in Portugal. Or someone who has downloaded.
Hello.
One person who's downloaded 3 episodes in Portugal.
Love you.
But we love you. Thank you. Let us know who you are in the comments.
We're coming to visit.
Yeah. Can we stay with you? What else?
I was in Rhode Island.
Yeah, are you going to move to Rhode Island? How was it?
I'm moving there.
Oh,
no, it was really nice. I stayed in a house with no air conditioning, which I thought would be hard, but it was actually quite lovely. And my body, like, just totally acclimated to being 100% sweaty all the time.
Oh my God, I was in such a foul mood for most of last week because it was just like heat wave city.
Yeah, well, I was really excited to be out of the city. We went to the beach and I watched a seagull, which are fucking terrifying.
Yeah, they're gross.
There were like so many people. It was towel to towel. Mm-hmm. And this seagull saunters around, goes to a blanket where no one's sitting, goes in the bag and pulls out a bag of ham and just flies off with it.
A bag of ham. What a bounty.
It was like he was on the hunt. We were like, you get the fuck out of here when he came over to us. And then he was like, let me go where no one is. He was like, what's over here? That
freaks me out to think about. I guess they eat fish. To think about a bird eating meat.
He just took, I think it was meat for sure. It was like a salami or something.
Oh, God.
And the people, none the wiser, I guess, until they came back and they were like, our ham is missing.
It would not occur to me to be worried about seagulls going into my bag.
In the bag. I watched him do it, this
smart.
bold little fucker. When I was living on the east side in New York, glamorous New York, there was a little, it was not a park, but they liked to call it that. And it was basically just like a series of benches and some greenery. And it got infested by rats.
Blech.
Kill me. And there were big signs that said, feed a pigeon, breed a rat. So now whenever I see people feeding pigeons,
so gross.
I say to them, in my mind, feed a pigeon, breed a rat.
A pigeon is essentially a rat, is the thing, though. They're actually the worst birds. I was actually relieved watching this film that there were no pigeons in it. Because every New Yorker has, like, been touched by a pigeon at one time or another. And it's a really unsettling experience.
Ew, I don't think I have.
Really? You've never just been, like, lightly brushed by a wingtip? It's really bad.
Oh, God.
Yeah, or just like it's just kind of too close to your foot. Yeah, they're bold as fuck and they're stupid. And I think they're stupid, but you know, and the thought of being pecked to death by pigeons is particularly upsetting to me because they're just so nasty.
No, gulls are the worst.
Gulls, because they have the worst beaks.
Yeah,
they're the
huge
worst
beaks.
in terms of, like, probably the pain of it. Like, they could do the most damage, but just
and they're
conceptually.
bold. Have you ever seen a gull on a boardwalk?
Oh, yeah, they don't give a
Going
fuck.
after pizza, French fries.
It's because, like, people don't really fuck with gulls. It's, like,
they're huge.
They're not, like, a natural, a lot of animals know to be afraid of people. But people don't fuck with gulls, so they just
can't.
Feed them.
What are you gonna do? Punch a gull in the face?
Yeah, you really can't. I guess you could shoot it with, like, a BB gun or something.
I am, staunchly against guns, but they really needed some guns up in Bodega Bay.
They really didn't try much of anything with the birds, but they were taken unawares.
By surprise?
Unawares, yeah. They were just like, what's going on with these birds? And
true.
They didn't have a lot of time.
Your immediate reaction is not just like, shoot them.
Yeah, it's like,
and also there were like thousands.
Yeah, there were a lot. Shall we dive in?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's soar right into this movie.
Well, the first thing I noticed about this movie is that bird sounds are annoying as fuck. And the reason I noticed that is because there's, like, no music throughout this movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of sound effects, and I think that makes the squawking and flapping all the more sort of nerve jangling.
It gives me literal back shivers thinking about
really, I was like, oh, this is setting my teeth on edge. It's like the opening credits, it's just a bunch of flapping.
I know, but I kind of loved it, too.
Oh, I didn't dislike it, but it was,
Yeah. Also that sound of, like...
Yeah, ooh. They're skittery creatures, little lizard creatures. They are. They're feathered lizards. They're very close to dinosaurs.
I kind of really want a lizard. I think
I would rather have a lizard than a bird. I also want to say this. So we open in a pet shop. Tippi Hedren, in her first film, feature role ever, is going into this pet shop to have a mynah bird. She wants to buy a mynah bird, which is a talking bird.
Do we know why? Isn't it that so she can teach it 4-letter words? Does she ever say that?
Yeah, she later says it's for her aunt. It's like a prank for her aunt. But that's a shitty prank because birds live to be 1,000,000 years old.
Yeah.
They can live to be like 70. A bird is the worst pet you could possibly get someone because they'll just never be free of it.
Yeah. So she goes to the pet shop. She's asking for a mynah bird, and then a man comes in.
Sexy.
And he asks her for lovebirds, and she goes along and pretends to work at the shop.
Yes.
And they're kind of having this, like, cat and mouse thing.
It's obvious she does not work there because she thinks that canaries are lovebirds.
But he keeps playing along until eventually it is revealed because he says... Oh, Melanie Daniels, which is her name. And she says, what did you say? How did you know my name? And it's revealed that he's a lawyer. He saw her in court because she's been in some trouble.
She likes to play practical jokes.
Yes. And basically he leaves. He, like, saunters out and is like, goodbye, Melanie Daniels. I'll see you in court.
Now, we're going to get into this, but my first thought, as soon as she started even just pretending, was it's just very bizarre behavior for an adult woman to be engaging in.
I thought I thought she was a troublemaker.
Yeah, well,
like, she likes to fuck with people.
We find out that she's a wealthy socialite, so she's kind of bored and just sort of like...
She's obviously smart.
Spoiled, like, yeah. But then the real crazy begins because she ends up doing some sleuthing and finding out where this guy lives. She buys him the lovebirds. He has told her they're for his little sister who's 11. This 33-year-old man has. By the way, he is 33. I looked this up because I thought he must be like 45, but he's 33.
Yeah, and the little girl is 13.
She's 11.
But the actress had her 13th birthday
during
the... But
the character is...
is
having 11.
I read all the trivia because I just had to.
Well, we have to get into the trivia shortly because this movie has a sordid backstory.
Yeah. So anyway, she finds out where he lives, which is Bodega Bay. She brings lovebirds to basically, I mean, I feel like we can kind of gloss over this part, but she goes to great lengths to find out where he lives, what his sister's name is, and she is bananas.
She goes to the way that she finds out the sister's name is that she goes to the school teacher's house, who is so sexy. The school teacher's name is Annie, and she's like a brunette, like va-va-voom, sort of Theo type if you listen to our episode on The Haunting. She's very sexy, and it's very obvious that she and Mitch have fucked as well.
Yes.
You know, just from the, like, sort of the conversation.
Annie has a very Billy Blue vibe to me, where she's like this kind of weird townsperson who's a little, like, just mysterious and being like, we were sweet on each other for a while.
Yeah, but she and Tippi have kind of an antagonistic interaction, but they also seem to sort of respect each other.
Yeah, I think it's like sexy ladies.
Yeah, I was kind of like, ooh,
Game recognized game. It was sort of like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah. And she clocked Tippi immediately. She was like, "You're here to fuck Mitch. Like, been there, babe, done that."
Yeah.
And Tippi's coy and her, in her own like way.
Tippi wearing a fur coat the entire time on
and that
June
green
day.
suit, iconic.
That green suit. I was like, by day 3 of this movie, I was like, that green suit's got to be getting a little right.
Funk.
A little bit.
Disgust.
Because there's no way that fabric breathes.
Her underwear. Sorry,
yeah,
that's disgusting.
I pray to God she
washed it in the sink or something, or
like
bought some extra pairs.
I guess she probably could have bought some underwear at the general store.
But oh God, wearing the same clothes for 3 days.
And her hair, she just keeps. That's a wig, right? Are we on the same page about that being a wig? That hair?
I don't know. Her hair looks lovely when it's down, but she kept putting it up.
Yeah, well, it's just so shiny.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, I loved it, the look of it, but it just doesn't seem like it can be
I think
real.
that's like a nice mayo conditioner that she was doing.
You think?
I do.
I don't know, man. I think it might have been a wig.
Okay, so she goes to such great lengths to find Mitch.
Yeah.
But I liked it because I feel like in movies all the time, and it's now there's like lots of articles written about it, blogs written about it. Men stalk women. They do like light stalking of women.
It's true.
Until they go out with them or fall in love with them and blah, 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 blah. And that's like a trope in movies that men basically stalk women.
Yeah.
And I like that she was fucking doing some light stalking just to play a motherfucking prank on this guy who kind of embarrassed her.
It's
and
true.
She was like, I'm gonna fucking embarrass you.
Where the line is crossed is where she goes into his home and leaves the birds in his living room.
Oh boy. I also wrote down she must really have nothing better to do. Like she must be insanely bored.
Well, she later is talking about how she used to be a party girl and like now she wants to contribute to the world, and then she lists like 2 things that she does, which are like
she's like on
charities on Mondays and Wednesdays.
I have my meetings.
Yeah, she's like taking a course on semantics at Berkeley. I'm like, oh God.
I wish that were my life.
I know, me too.
That should be your goal for 30.
Well,
live like Melanie Daniels.
33. Tippi was 33 when she was in this movie. She already had given birth to Melanie Griffith, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, and her name was Melanie.
Yeah. Oh, cute.
Wow. Okay, so she takes the lovebirds. She also has written a letter to Mitch that then she rips up, and instead she writes a note to Kathy, and she leaves the bird, and she goes in their house, which
she takes
is
a boat,
lunacy.
Which I liked that she could drive the boat by herself, but she takes a little motorboat across the bay and goes in their house.
Leaves the birds with the note. At that point, I was like, "You crazy girl! Leave him on the doorstep."
Yeah.
But she doesn't. She leaves. Mitch comes out. He sees the lovebirds in the house, goes running to the car. He sees her out on the lake or the bay, and gets in his car and goes driving to the other side of the bay.
Like, different lighting, different music, a different title. This is the inciting incident for the horror.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is a movie about like a crazy woman.
It's like misery.
Yeah, he comes out like looking around.
So as she's driving, she's in the boat as she's sailing back to the shore, and he's standing there waiting for her. A big old gull comes and smacks her in the head.
Gives her a good scratch on the noggin. She starts bleeding.
I know. And at which point she kind of becomes like damsel-y, like
she's very dazed.
See, I feel like I would have been like, I'm so embarrassed, I'm going home.
I know. I would have been like, it's fine.
Like a bird hitting you in the head is embarrassing.
It's very embarrassing.
Because like probably there's something wrong with your head.
Well, her head was very shiny.
Kaitlin, I didn't know when the right time to tell you this story was.
Uh-oh. Have I just opened it up for you?
I have been shit on the head, but more so than that, I'm going to tell you a tale. I was at a bachelorette party in Denmark. Long story. I was at a bachelorette party in Denmark where you can drink outside. We were drinking in the park, having the best time, getting our buzz on, playing games, sitting in a big circle all under these beautiful trees. It was lovely. All of a sudden, I hear the sound you hear all throughout this movie. This crazy sound right by my ear.
Oh no.
And I freak out because it sounds like a huge bug is swarming around my ear. So I go, ah! I freak out. You can't see me, but I start rushing my hair all around, flipping my head. I basically start head banging. And then I freeze and my hair is like over my face. And all my friends are like, what the hell? And I go, is it gone? Is it gone? And then I hear right directly next to my ear. And I slap my hand through my hair, and a baby bird flies out of my hair. And my friend Nicola, animal lover, goes, "Don't touch it!" She was like, "Nobody touch it! It can't smell like a human, or its mother won't let it back in the nest." Meanwhile, it had literally been in my hair.
Oh, no.
So she
It
goes
smells
over,
like
she
Garnier
scoops it with,
Fructis.
yes, Pantene Pro V. She scoops it, she sets it
Oh,
off on
no.
its way. And I won't tell you the sad end that this bird came to, but,
Oh, no. Tell me.
well, another bird came down.
Uh-oh.
A bigger bird, a crow, came down, picked it up, and just took it. So,
Birds are horrible.
So I have had worse than shit on my head.
Wow.
A bird literally tried to nest in my hair.
Well, you have beautiful blonde hair just like Tippi's, except yours doesn't look like a wig to me.
No, it wasn't. It was so embarrassing. And I wasn't like, "Oh, help me." I was like, "What's wrong with my head?"
Yes. And there wasn't like a sexy man you'd been stalking, right?
No, my girlfriends were like, "Jesus Christ, Callie."
I actually thought like, wow, this actually might have saved this interaction, because what was this interaction going to be? Was he going to be like, "What the fuck were you doing to my house?"
It was going to be more like,
flirtation.
"Oh, you must really like me. Oh, I don't like you at all."
Just
And instead it was like,
sociopath.
"You're bleeding."
Yeah, I liked when he said, "That's the damnedest thing I ever saw."
Yeah.
I like when people in old movies.
Oh,
say
I
things
guess
like
he has
that.
never seen a baby bird fly into a woman's nest of hair
you've
before.
lived 1,000 lifetimes.
I'm pretty sure
He
it
hasn't.
was. I'm pretty sure it was its first flight.
Oh, that's sad.
I'm sorry
Well, it's nature.
to tell you.
It's just nature.
It was like, away!
I'm having a hard time feeling real bad for birds after watching this movie in general.
Oh, I know. It was an innocent baby bird.
Wow.
Anyway. So I felt like, kicking off this right from the beginning, I'll let you know that that's my experience with birds. So
That beats a pigeon grazing your arm.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, I will say that this movie has been going on for, 20 minutes at this point, 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first real, we've seen some birds, like, they've made a comment about, like, "Oh, look at those birds, like, they're behaving rather oddly."
Migrating?
Yeah, this is the first real aggressive bird scene we've had. In fact, I was watching this movie with the guy I'm dating, and twice before we got to the actual action of the thing, which I would say it takes place about 30 to 40 minutes in.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, "What is this movie about?"
I like that. I watched with Simon. He just kept commenting on the green screens, which I was like, honey.
I know, get over the green screen.
Get over it,
We
babe.
have to get over the green screen,
I know.
because it was very cutting edge at that time. I'm not even gonna, no, we have to
No.
focus
And I
on
didn't think it was that bad.
It wasn't that bad, really.
No.
I mean, the acting around it was mostly pretty good. Especially the kids,
Yeah.
I thought, did well.
I thought so too. Oh,
Yeah.
the little girl. She's like, Annie. All right,
Yeah.
we'll get there. So they're in the diner. He's tapping at her head, trying to, like,
Mhm.
soothe her head. And I just took note of this dialogue where he's like, "Oh, you came all the way to Bodega Veneta for me. You must really like me." And she goes, "I loathe you," which I liked.
Yeah, sassy.
But also, like, you lying bitch.
She must, like, really want that D, was what I was thinking, too.
Also, yeah,
Because she just, like, laid eyes on this guy, and immediately, like, you could see, in the first scene, you can see her eyes just like, ooh, yes,
Let me
yes,
get
please,
that.
don't mind if I do.
Yeah, I got
Like,
bird fever.
mhm.
Yeah, she was all about it.
Yeah.
It was wild. Also, like, their love affair.
Well, they
goes
bond
from
through
0 to
trauma.
1,000.
They do bond through trauma, but it does get very intimate
Yeah,
very
it's
quickly.
like Sandra Bullock and I almost said
Keanu
Winona
Reeves.
Ryder, like Keanu Reeves
Yeah.
in Speed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, classic. So they're in the diner, and then what's his name? Mitch, his mom shows up, and his mom is Jessica Tandy.
Jessica.
Who has been 60 years old forever. I mean, I think she's dead now, but I like Jessica here. Jessica's sort of sizing up our girl.
She's creepy. She's incestuous
A little bit, yeah, for
and the way that
sure.
he calls her dear and darling.
I
and
was like, have you ever called your mom dear?
No.
No. Anyway.
So the chickens aren't eating.
Yeah, they go home. He invites her over for dinner, much to Jessica Tandy's chagrin. We hear this conversation, which it took me a while to understand the import of, because I forgot that chickens are birds for a while. And I was like, why are we listening to this? Why do we care about this chicken feed thing? And I was like, oh, because the chickens are acting
going cuckoo
strange.
too.
Yeah, she calls the guy.
Cuckoo. Sorry.
So many birds on this earth. She calls, like, her neighbor who sold her some chicken feed, and she's like, the chicken feed's no good, they're not eating. And he's like, yeah, but I sold another brand to the other guy, and their chickens aren't eating. And she's like, oh, I hope they're not sick. But they also meet Kathy, who's 11, and she immediately loves Tippi, Which I guess I understand because Tippi's very glamorous.
Yeah, and she brought her a
some
gift.
birds. Right. Which I was like a little bit like, way to steal Mitch's thunder. It was his idea to get her the bird.
Wait, and also way to bring the fucking sister into your weird prank.
I know.
Like, leaving a note for her is so creepy.
It's very creepy. But, so...
She's having a birthday party.
She's having a birthday party, and she wants Tips to stay for it because she loves Tips. But then Tippi and the guy get in a fight because Mitch, his mom had brought up, like, I saw in the gossip columns that she jumped naked into a fountain or whatever because she's a socialite.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mitch brings it up to her, and she gets mad, and she's like, I didn't do that. That was misreported.
I was pushed into that fountain.
Right, and I was fully clothed. So she gets all shitty with him, understandably, and he's being kind of a dick. And then she leaves, and she's staying with Annie because Annie has a room to rent, which is awkward. But then we get more of, like, a heart-to-heart with her and Annie.
Yeah, poor Annie.
Oh, my God. So, talk about crazy. Here's what we learned about sexy, sexy Annie, which is that she used to date Mitch when they both lived in San Francisco. Because Mitch lives in Bodega Bay on the weekends only, and then he's in San Francisco the rest of the time.
What a fucking life. I know. That life.
Oh, my God. I want to go to Bodega Bay so bad. It's so beautiful.
Birds and all. Take birds me, birds.
Fly away home. So, Annie, they were dating, and then she met Jessica Tandy, and Jessica Tandy, like, didn't like her, but does like her as a person now, but just basically made it clear that she didn't want Mitch to be dating her, and Mitch acquiesced, which is, look, when a 33-year-old man is letting his mom pick his girlfriends...
Oh, is that what happened?
It's a red flag. Isn't it what happened?
Well, I think it was just sort of like a wedge between them.
I guess so. But
and
it's
it
just like
wasn't going to work out.
You can't have a guy that's that involved with his mom. It's a red flag.
She moved to Bodega Bay anyway.
After they broke up. It wasn't like she moved there with him while they were together, which would be like, yeah, and then she sort of stuck there. Or she actually ended up falling in love with the town, so she moved there. She literally says,
she's like, Bodega Bay is terrible.
Yeah, she says point blank, I moved here to be close to Mitch.
Close to Mitch.
Because I still care about him a hell of a lot.
His friendship.
And it's like,
that's
girl,
so crazy.
San Francisco is a big place. Like, I know we were pre-Tinder at this point.
Bodega Bay is a tiny place.
It's way tiny, and it's like, you're gonna be the one-room school. It's nuts.
It's
like fucking nuts. The women in this movie behave very oddly.
I guess Mitch has that magic dick.
I guess so.
He's got that big
Tippi
dick energy.
doesn't even know. I guess the BDE, yeah.
Yeah.
She would, because that's just the vibes that he's giving off. I guess. But, anyway,
I don't know. I've seen cuter men. In fact, I read in the trivia that Cary Grant was considered for this role.
Now, Cary Grant.
And I would move to Bodega Bay for Cary Grant.
Bodega Bay for Cary Grant, for sure.
That's that BDE.
Even Jimmy Stewart, I would move to Bodega Bay for, maybe. Okay, so basically what we learned through all this is that Mitch has mommy issues, and it's, like, going to be hard for him to date because his mom... This didn't make any sense to me. Her psychoanalysis of the mom was like, I don't think she's afraid of losing Mitch. She's just afraid of being abandoned.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the goddamn difference?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Nope. Weird dialogue. Poor Annie is sitting there when the phone rings and it's Mitch and she's like, oh, hi. But he wants to talk to fucking Tippi. Mm-hmm. And so she just sits there. I liked that she was in the foreground while the conversation's happening in the background. Poor Annie sipping on some bourbon.
I know.
And I thought that Tippi did a really good job here of having like the one-sided phone conversations. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it is really weird in movies. It's a little better in movies. Sometimes it's really bad in plays when people are doing that one-sided phone thing. But she was really good, except I did not appreciate when she goes, no, I wouldn't want to disappoint Kathy. And on the other end, Mitch was like, you have to come to the party. You wouldn't want to disappoint Kathy, would you? What kind of fucking guilt trip bullshit is that?
It's weird that they're using a little girl as a pawn in their mating dance.
I wouldn't want to disappoint Kathy.
It's also, I was just like, oh, I wish she didn't have to have this combo in front of Annie. I just don't like when women...
Also, she's being kind of shitty.
I know, and I'm saying I don't like when women are, like, pitted against each other over a fucking man in a movie. And I was trying to figure out if this movie passes the Bechdel test. Literally, the only reason it does, even a little bit, is because of that, because of that old lady that shows up later who's a bird expert and is talking to Tippi about it. That's, like, the only reason. Mm-hmm, and I guess, because the little girl asks Tippi to come to her birthday party. Yeah. Every other scene between women, and there are a lot of women in this movie, is about fucking Mitch. Mitch's BDE.
Mitch.
But anyway, I liked Mitch fine, but I was just like, he ain't worth all this.
I wish we had seen him without a shirt on so I could make him more.
Well, but I don't know. 60 shirtless is a different standard of hot.
I know. I liked it.
Well,
it was before the days of, like, fucking...
abs.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, no Ryan Phillippe abs in 1963.
So anyway, she's like... First of all, fucking shitty Tippi is like, Annie, do you think I should go to the party? And it's
Oh,
like, you
fuck
fucking
off.
bitch. Meanwhile, Annie basically has to work at this birthday party.
I know.
She's like, oh, I'm going to help.
Annie, respect yourself, girl. You don't have to do that.
No,
Move
but
back
she's
to
friends
San
with Lydia,
Fran.
I guess.
You don't have to be friends with this
Whatever.
bitch who ruined your relationship.
Nope, you don't.
Oh my god,
Well,
whatever.
and-
So, what the long and short of it is, as they're talking, there's a big thump, and they open the door, and there's a dead seagull that has ran straight in. And Annie's like, "Oh, a bird. He must have lost his way in the dark." And Tippy's like, "There's a full moon. It's not dark."
But Annie, it's not dark.
Yeah, I love Tippy in this movie. I thought her
Me
acting
too.
was very good.
Me too.
So then it's the next day. They're at the party. We learn a bunch of shit about how Tippy was a party girl who wants redemption, basically, and about how her mom abandoned her.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of. It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter.
I always thought this part was
Yeah.
really weird. How she goes, I don't know where she is. Well, I guess I better go join the other children. She just immediately isn't crying anymore.
This is the second time I was asked, "What is this movie about?" And it's a good question because up until this point, it's like an emotional drama with a few weird bird scenes.
Yeah, by the way, this is an hour into it. I looked.
Yes.
An hour into it, not much has happened.
No, and we're learning all this character backstory that later is not really going to be a thing.
Not relevant in the least.
Yeah. So,
Well, I
anyway.
guess the mother thing is a little bit.
I have some thoughts about. Well, I want to save them for the end
Okay.
about this whole situation. But yes, so we learn this thing about Tippy's backstory. They're bonding. Then all of a sudden, the kids are playing pin the tail on the donkey or pinata or some shit with a blindfold, and the seagulls attack. They swoop down, and this is pretty scary. I mean, it's not scary, but it's like, oh god, get those
Yeah.
kids inside. There's a lot of pecking. It
And
looks like
yeah.
it hurts.
They all scatter to the winds instead of
Yeah.
running towards the house, which
They
I guess
panic.
is just panic.
They're
yeah.
dumb. Children are dumb. We've established.
Children.
But it takes Annie to be like, help me get the kids in the house before anybody fucking moves their ass.
Oh
to
my
do
god, and the
anything.
kids that are on the ground
Oh, I
and there's
know.
birds
But I like
on
that
them.
Tippy took off her coat and
Yeah.
batted away the bird. And Tippy gets it done when she's got to protect the kids, I will say.
Mhm.
And so does Mitch. Jessica Tandy's useless as fuck, but everybody else
Mhm.
gets inside the house. And, the little kids are looking up with their terrified eyes. Later that night, Tippy has stayed for dinner.
Well, okay, so I took note of this because it was just so fucking crazy. Mitch goes, stay and have something to eat before you get on the road. I feel a lot better. And I was like, you sly dog.
I know. Also,
Getting her to
what
stay.
do you mean
And
you
then
feel a lot better?
She stays for dinner, and Kathy is like, oh, won't you stay, Melanie? Won't you stay for the night? And Mitch goes, oh yeah, those roads can get pretty bad at night. And I was like, what kind of fucking, I really can't stay shit is this? Let this woman leave.
I know.
He's
they're
like, you should
all-
stay for dinner. You can't drive at night.
You should.
You live here now in that green suit.
But also, it's his mom's house, and Jessica Tandy's throwing shade. She doesn't want her
yeah,
there.
she's like, just go.
But then they're having tea all around the fireplace, and all of a sudden there's a little sparrow on
my
the
God.
hearth.
And Melanie goes, Mitch.
And then all the birds descend.
Yeah.
There's birds every which where. And this part also was, again, not scary, but shoulders up around the ears.
Yeah.
I would say. Every scene in this movie with the birds is that for me. I'm
This
like,
scene
oh God.
stuck with me throughout my entire life. I watched
Really?
this movie when I was young. I was scared of our fireplace my entire life.
Oh my God.
We had an old stone fireplace, and I would have to run by it at night. I had to pass it to go up the
Wow.
stairs to go to bed.
That would be really scary. I think I saw this movie when I was probably 12, so I was a little old to be afraid of it in that way, but
I'm
that...
pretty sure I was 3.5.
Oh, that's young.
No, I was probably 5.
Okay, so what happens? Oh yeah, they basically they have to escape, and all the sparrows fly out somehow.
I don't even know how they escaped. They just let them all kill themselves bumping into the walls.
Yeah, they leave. They just leave the room and let them run
Yeah.
rampant. And then they call the cops, and the dumb sheriff is like, "Well, they must have just gotten in by mistake and panicked." And it's hundreds of them, you
Yeah.
dumb dummy. But small town cops are always
Yeah,
stupid in
he was
these movies.
Dum, dum, dum.
Yeah, Barney Fife over here.
And then Melanie, this is literally all I wrote down for a while. She goes, I think I should stay, don't you? It was just all of this
Why
has
do you want to
just
stay in
been
this birdhouse?
a weird mating game between these
It's
two
very
lovebirds.
odd because it's you're not helping Jessica Tandy. Do you know what I mean?
No,
It's
Jessica
it's
Tandy's blood
tons
pressure
of
is
water
off
there.
the charts.
Yeah, and it's why do you want to stay here in this house with these goddamn birds? I'd be like, I'm gonna go to a
I'd be
place
like,
where
do you
there's
guys want to
no
come to
birds."
my place in San Francisco?
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't leave earlier. I mean, this
I guess
night
it's just
I get
so
it.
bizarre.
Yeah, it's what's happening. Then where are we
So the
next?
next morning, Lydia goes to Dan Fawcett's to see about the chickens.
Yeah. Poor Jessica Tandy comes upon quite a scene. There's dead, I thought the pigeon with its neck broke in the window was pretty gruesome. And then she, like, turns a corner, and there's old Dan, and his eyes are pecked out, and he's all pecked. I couldn't really tell, like, the eyes pecked out is definitely very gruesome. This person and then a person later that gets pecked to death, I couldn't really see, like, the death wounds.
I said this to Simon. I was like, how exactly does a bird kill you?
You would be unrecognizable if it was, like, you were being pecked to death. Do you know what I mean?
To death?
If it got, like, a major artery or something,
Yeah.
sure. But
like what?
But like
these are like surface wounds.
Right, exactly. The eyes are pretty bad, but that even wouldn't necessarily kill you unless
and
they got
also
through
that
the
would
brain.
be like after you're dead.
Yeah, I would think so. So it's a little unclear. I mean, I guess they just couldn't be that gruesome where you're just like a pile of pulp on the ground. And also we need to be able to recognize people later that we know.
I really would like to know how a bird kills you. Well, it was at this point, so she goes running through the house, and this is where the no music thing really, like, hit me, because she doesn't scream. Mm-hmm. She makes, like, a silent...
Like a gagging sort of face.
And so there's no sound, because there's no gulling, there's no cawing, there's no sound, so she just runs out. She gets in her car, she speeds away, and she gets back to the house where Tippi and Mitchie are standing, and she pushes them both out of the way and goes into the house.
Right.
And it was at this point where I was like, I would love to see a modern day adaptation of the birds where, like, phones are a thing. Yeah. And it's, like, happening all over the world. Because we don't know if it's just happening in Bodega Bay.
Well, we learn later, because he listens to the radio, that it's starting to happen other places.
Yeah.
But it's, like, ground zero is Bodega Bay.
Yeah. So then she's making tea. Tippi, old shitty Tippi, is making tea. And he comes in... Mitch, and he kisses her neck, and this is
the
where
most tender, intimate kiss.
This is when the love story goes from 0 to a million.
Yeah,
million. And he kisses her neck,
keep upping the number.
And then she turns and goes, "Oh, be careful, please!" And it was like, God Almighty, you just met each other literally yesterday. You said, "I loathe you."
I know. Yeah, they're in love immediately, but they're bonding through trauma. There's birds everywhere, and I guess there's this dead eyeless man that they have to contend with. I thought Tippi was being kind of nice. She takes Jessica Tandy and some tea. They have a little heart-to-heart.
This is a long book scene, what I would call book scene, if this were a musical and the bird attacks are
it's
musical
funny to
interludes.
Compare horror movies to musicals, kind of, because if you think of, like, an actually scary scene as a musical number, and the shit that happens in between is a book scene.
So this one would be a musical that had no music in the first act.
Right.
And the second act was a musical with very little music.
So it's almost entirely
a play with music.
Yeah.
But this is a particularly long book scene.
And we learned some shit about how Jessica Tandy is lonely and sad, and she misses her husband, and she wishes she was a stronger person, and she's like, I don't think Mitch cares what I want, he'll date whoever, and Tippi's like, I don't think that's true, and whatever, I don't know.
Whatever.
Here, okay, let me get into
this.
Long. And she's like, I don't even know if I like you or not, Jessica says this to Tippi. I'll just jump into my thoughts about this movie. We set up all this, like, emotional shit between these characters, and then nothing from this point on, it's just birds attacking. And we really
just musical numbers.
It's just, from this point on, it's just a grand finale of musical bird attacks. This is happening, and I'm like, what is the payoff going to be for this? And the answer is nothing. And I would like
just
to
a
pitch,
tender embrace.
And spoiler alert, this doesn't happen, but I would like to pitch an alternate ending to the birds. Where when Tippi goes up into the attic, spoiler alert, we're jumping ahead, but Tippi eventually will go up into the attic and be attacked by some birds, and Mitch will get her out and save her. That Jessica Tandy somehow sacrifices herself to save Tippi, because she knows that Mitch loves her, and she knows that she has not been, like, letting her child go out into the world in the natural order of things.
She's not letting him leave the nest.
She's not letting him leave the nest! Why were we not script doctors on the fucking birds? And so that, she would, like, get Tippi out of there, and the birds would swarm and cover her, and she would die. And that would be, like, the emotional payoff of this conversation and all this drama.
And she would have been
Jessica
like,
Tandy.
Go, Mitch! Go, Tippi! Get out!
And Jessica Tandy saying,
Kathy,
like,
stay with me.
I wish I were a stronger person, and then she does grow as a person and becomes a stronger person at the end and, like, saves the kids and lets them all get out.
All we get is this tender embrace.
A tender embrace that is, like, not enough for me. And it's like, I don't know, because maybe a woman couldn't have that journey Like an older lady couldn't have that journey in this friggin'
I mean,
movie.
nobody really evolves.
Nobody grows. It's true. It's like we set up all this growth. We set up this party girl who wants to be redeemed, and Tippi does do some solid work for this family. She like helps Kathy. She helps save the kids and everything. But yeah, there's not a ton of growth for anybody. It just becomes all birds all the time. So I was like, maybe I can justify that with like the natural order of this, like the human drama of this movie is just totally derailed by nature going ballistic. But that might be giving it too much credit.
That's interesting.
I don't know. Like, we're expecting a dramatic structure to unfold, but then the birds are just like, fuck you! And they peck our dramatic structure to death. I don't know, that's my theory.
I think your alt ending would have been better.
I do too, Callie.
But I think he just really needed Tippi Hedren to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, I also wouldn't have sexually harassed my leading lady.
No, you wouldn't.
For spoiler alert to our later discussion.
You wouldn't have.
I think I would have been a better director all around.
You wouldn't have thrown live birds at her for 5 days.
No. With their poor little beaks strapped shut. All right, we got to get through this. And then
so the mom is like, do you think Kathy's okay at the school? There's so many windows at the school. Yeah. And Tippi, being sweet, says, I'll go check on Kathy. It's fine. You rest. Blah.
Which I'm like, bitch, it's your daughter. Go. Like, my mom will be at that school so fast.
She's very shaken. She's shaken. She's stirred.
She's useless. I had no patience for Jessica.
She lost her purse.
That is very stressful.
So old Tips goes to the schoolhouse, the one-room schoolhouse where they're singing rickety rackety meow meow.
Oh my god, it goes on for so long. The only music in the whole goddamn thing.
But I kind of liked it. It was creepy. I married my wife in the month of June. Rickety rackety meow meow meow.
Callie has a good brain for lyrics. Callie can hear a song.
I'm sorry, I sing so much to you.
No, I love it. Yes, well, Tippi waits in this I thought was like one of the more effective scare shots. Tippi's waiting outside of the
Sorry, can I just interrupt to say?
Yeah.
She combed her hair but once a year.
Ew, I hated that part.
Rackety, now.
I hated that part. I thought that was so gross. Okay, but no, I will say...
Yes, I like this part.
Yeah, it was one of the more effective scare scenes. Tippi's outside of the schoolhouse because she's waiting for the song to be over to go in and talk to them.
Smoking a
cig, like, and we see some birds, like, flying past her. Like, we've seen her sit down in front of the jungle gym. Then we cut away so we're facing Tippi, not facing the jungle gym. And we see some birds fly past. She turns, and the camera turns with her, and suddenly we see the entire jungle gym.
Slowly, one by one, there's, like, more and more, and then we turn away, and then we turn back, and the whole thing is covered in crows.
It was upsetting.
It was good.
It's a very good moment.
And so she turns, and she sees it, and she gets up, creeps in back into the school. This is scary, too,
slowly walking. If you've ever been dealing with an animal that you think might hurt you, and you're just, like, very slowly, moving past it, it's, like...
creepy.
Yeah, it's a stressful thing.
Yeah, so in the meantime, Annie's like, okay, children, time to go out for recess. And so Tippi goes in and she's like, close that door. Look outside. Look at all those birds. And Annie says, we're going to pretend to do a fire drill. We're going to do a fire drill. Not pretend to do them. We're going to do a fire drill. All the kids who live close to the school run home. Anyone else run to the store or whatever.
Yeah, the hotel at the bottom of the hill.
Now, I don't think this is a great idea. I feel like just barricading yourselves in the school might have been a better idea.
Yeah, or like waiting for the birds to go away. But they do have a lot of really big windows, and it's just those two ladies and all the kids, and like, what are they going to barricade it with?
Run.
I mean, I don't know if they knew they would have to run. You know what I mean? Like, I think at first it was like, let's walk calmly, and then the birds were like, fuck you, and then they had to start running.
Well, yeah. I think they did tell them to run, though. Like, as soon as you get out of the school, run. Because that's what, like, fucks the birds, is the birds are all sitting there, and then you hear the footsteps of children, like, running, and then the birds are like...
Yeah, so why didn't they just walk calmly? That's what you do in a fire.
I guess because children are incapable of such a thing.
I don't know.
Because one of them would have been like, hey, my shoelace is untied, and then
the bird would have been like, fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Yeah, so they would have been like, hey,
kids,
give me that shoelace.
Attack.
Yeah, and they do attack, and there's a lot, and it's just, the beaks grabbing at the little ears and stuff was upsetting. I was glad we
also,
didn't see
like,
any
Hitchcock,
blood.
okay, total prick, but, like, good director. Because the, like, practical birds mixed with the, obviously, bad effects, but practical birds on the kids is creepy.
Yeah, they're scary. And the thought of having to, like, the birds are really big.
Yeah.
Which you don't think about a bird being big, but, like,
Well,
when
gull
they
is
put
fucking
a gull and
huge.
a crow, like a big raven, you, like, put your hands around it and throw it, and it's like, yeah, it's scary. So the one little girl...
And especially when they come towards the front, there's, like, the one little girl that's like, eh.
Yeah, oh
my God.
And the one little girl's glasses break. She falls and her glasses break, and she goes,
Oh.
Kathy, help! And Kathy, who's, remember, is the 11-year-old girl, turns around and was like, Kathy's a solid friend. Kathy's my main bitch.
Kathy!
She's the only one in this movie that acts right, in my opinion.
Helps her.
Except later she wants to hang out with the lovebirds, and I don't understand that. But
they're her friends.
no, they're not. They would kill her if she let them out. That shit happens. And they escape. Tippy helps the little girls get away.
They hide in the car.
Tippy ends up she sends Kathy off to stay with Annie because she can't go home because her own mother can't take care of her. And,
she goes to the diner.
She goes to the diner and she meets an old bird of a different color who's like this old lady who's a Mrs. Bundy, and she's an ornithologist and she knows all about
What
birds.
a coincidence.
She's very smug, and she starts talking about how birds don't attack humans, and if they
birds
did...
are not aggressive.
Yes, that's a very good impression. I wrote down, she's the Tangina of birds, but then I was like, no, because Tangina is actually helpful, and this lady is not. And this lady's just in straight denial, and basically she ends up telling us there are so many birds on this earth that if the birds decided to fuck with us, we would be doomed.
There'd be nothing we could do.
No, because there's too many birds, so we couldn't wipe them out.
This was also very funny dialogue. It's like, birds are not aggressive. It is mankind that insists upon making it difficult for life to exist on this planet. And then the waitress goes, 3 fried chickens, Joe.
I didn't catch that. That's funny. I just thought that this is like where they're laying out the environmentalist angle. Because the thing is, we never know why the birds are doing this. Like, that never is clear. So it's like, that's one theory, is that, like, they just got tired of man fucking things up. And then another guy's like, it's the end of the world. It's end times. You know, we don't really know why the birds
It's the
are
happening.
doing this. It's the happening. It's, you know, it's a plague.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The bird.
But while they're all here, and this lady who's having dinner with the kids gets mad and she leaves. She's like, I'm going to San Francisco with my kids.
Oh, she also says, birds have been on this planet for 140
But Mrs.
million
Bundy
years.
says.
Yeah. 140 million years.
I told you, they're dinosaurs. They're little tiny dinosaurs. But,
do you think gulls looked the same 140 million years ago?
I don't know.
The gull?
I have no idea. I hope so. They're very prehistoric
Looking for
creatures.
fries.
Oh man, they were so happy when fries were invented.
They were like, this is light. I can take a whole bucket.
Okay, yeah, so this lady runs away with her kids, and then as soon as that happens...
that lady.
Yeah, but as soon as they look out the window, and a bird flies down and hits a gas station attendant, and he falls down, and there's gas just going everywhere. And of course somebody has to light a goddamn cigarette, and... the birds cause an explosion. Like, multiple cars explode. Yeah. This poor guy goes up in flames. I was like, all right, well, that's an interesting way to get us. Because at a certain point, birds attacking gets a little tired.
And they need to up the ante.
Right. So the birds cause a massive explosion.
And Tippi Hedren does that funny thing that I'm going to do right now, but no one will be able to see it except you, where she goes.
Okay, I'm going to describe it. Callie's looking
but it, like, cuts away. So it's like...
Oh.
It's like this. Like that.
I don't know how to describe that. We see multiple close-ups.
You see close-ups of her face looking different directions, but you don't see her move her head at all.
Yes. It's
I just tried to act it out with a
filmmaking.
piece of paper in front of my face.
Advanced filmmaking. Yeah, so this has happened, and then all the people come back in, and she's like, I fucking told you that, because nobody has believed her. Like, half the diner hasn't been believing her that the birds would do this. And she's like, I fucking told you the birds were messed up.
And the hysterical mother
who had left with her
Who
kids.
are you? What are you? I think you're evil.
Yeah, because, and then Tippi slaps her, and I was like, she deserved to be slapped.
Yeah.
Because... I guess they're like, this all started when Tippi showed up. It's a weird little shoehorn in there. It never comes back. That people are worried that this is Tippi's
Like, that would have been cool. Maybe her hair was just too shiny.
Yeah, you brought them with
was
you.
too green.
Too green and probably starting to smell. Then they go home that night. They're all stressed out. It's just her. It's Tippi and Mitch and Jessica Tandy.
Oh my God, we missed a part though.
Oh my God, this is terrible. Yeah, we forgot.
Well, I don't know if it's the same part you're thinking of, but during this whole attack when she's in the phone booth.
Oh, yeah, we missed another bigger part. But yes, but this has happened too. This is like the iconic scene of her in the phone booth where the birds are crashing into the phone booth.
And one of the trivia facts, fucking Alfred Hitchcock wanted to punish Tippi Hedren, and one of the panes of glass that was supposed to be fake was real. And so when a bird shattered into it, which you can absolutely tell the difference, you see one fake shatter, it doesn't really shatter. Then you see the real one shatter, and shards of glass went all over Tippi Hedren's face and her clothes, and they had to take tweezers and extract tiny shards of glass from her face and chest.
That's so fucked up. Because obviously that's a fucked up thing to do to a person, but also, like, from a production standpoint, very dumb.
Also, she's, like, a fucking model.
To cut up your leading lady's face. You're gonna, like, put
and, like, God
behind.
forbid she didn't get, like, a major piece of glass in her face. It was, like, tiny, you know, like, very small pieces.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So the big thing that happens after this is they go to pick up Kathy at Annie's house. And my beautiful, sexy Annie, who needs to love herself more, has been killed by the birds. And she's lying, like, upside down on her
grisly.
stairs. It's pretty grisly. But still doesn't look like she has enough damage to be dead. But she does.
No.
Tippi, you know, is like, where's Kathy? And Kathy comes out.
She's, like, crying in the window.
Yeah, and they have to get her away. It's really sad. We learn that they came outside when they heard the explosion, and then the birds swarmed them, and Annie pushed her inside, which I'm like, couldn't you just have both gone inside?
Self-sacrifice. That's what we needed from Lydia.
We already had self-sacrifice from fucking Annie. She already had sacrificed way more than she needed to.
I know. Well, also, then Mitch goes to cover her with a jacket, and Tippi says, oh, you can't leave her there, Mitch. And so then he moves her, and the subtitles said, body being dragged.
Oh, God.
It was terrible. I was like, body being dragged is the worst thing to read in
drag her,
subtitles.
Mitch. Pick her up. Well, then they go home. They're all sad. They have had dinner. They're stressed out. They've put up... They're boarding up the house, basically, all the windows. And they're like, it's kind of like a pattern.
But it kind of feels like at this point, just fucking leave.
I don't know why they don't leave.
And it also, on the radio later, it says most of the townspeople have gotten out.
Get the fuck out of there. But they didn't. So they're boarding up the house. He's got a fire going in the fireplace, which I think would not be enough to stop these birds that are flying directly into shit.
Nope.
So the birds come. They peck the house to shit. They try to get in the window. Mitch forgot to close the storm windows, so they're trying to get in the windows. They're just pecking him up to fuck.
Yeah, that part was scary.
It's just weird. A lot of birds coming in. What really freaked me out of this part is when they start coming in the door, when they start pecking through the door. And I thought Tippi did a very good acting job of sort of just like, she's sitting on the couch looking up around her sort of in terror, but she's not, she can hear the threat, but she can't see it.
Yeah.
And it's just like waiting for something to come and the helpless terror. Utterly helpless terror because there's nowhere to go.
Meanwhile, Lydia's like thrashing all around the room with Kathy. Yeah. Poor Kathy.
Poor Kathy. I did like finally Kathy went to her mom because she was just like all up Tippi's ass.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, but your mom is
when she's like, Melanie, I'm gonna be sick.
Yeah. I thought she did a good job with that.
And I thought the makeup was good. She looked really pale.
She did. I was like, that she looks like she's gonna puke.
People pecked to death.
Yeah, her teacher. So anyway, this happens. Then the birds go away. They retreat because they come in like a pattern. The people fall into an uneasy sleep. Tippi, for some unknown reason,
she hears.
What?
But why? Wake up, Mitch. Wake up, Kathy. Wake up anybody.
She takes a flashlight and goes upstairs and follows the tittering sound. Now, I read...
Which is so stupid.
Yes.
Hello, you hear a bird.
It's a horror movie classic. I read somewhere that she asked Hitchcock, I don't understand Tippi's I don't understand my motivation for doing this. And he said, your motivation is I tell you to. What a gem, folks. Yeah, so he didn't know either. He was full of shit, too.
Yeah.
So she goes up here, though, and
I guess she's brave, you know? She's, like, kind of a baller.
I guess, but, like, why? Like, why? There's no need to investigate
Yeah, also just be like, I hear a fucking bird in the house.
Yeah, like, we should go.
We should go.
Anyway, she goes up there. The birds have gotten in through the window. They've, like, not the window, the roof. They've pecked in through the roof, and then they attack her.
And she's like, and she turns the flashlight on them by accident, and they attack her.
And we have an extended scene of birds just pecking the fuck out of poor Tippi, which apparently was achieved through 5 straight days of stagehands throwing live-ass birds at her with their beaks strapped shut by elastic bands, which is fucked up for the birds and for Tippi.
So, in the movie The Girls...
Yes, The Girl.
Yeah. This is a big part of that movie. One of the, like, climactic moments is them shooting this scene. And Hitch... I don't know how much of that is fictionalized, but Hitch, like, sitting... just watching silently for like 5 days, sort of in the background, as literally they just keep throwing birds at her. And eventually I was reading that they like finally stopped production on this scene when a bird pecked through her lower eyelid. And so they had to stop because she like actually got hit in the face.
That's the worst thing. Yeah, I heard a doctor was like, "You're gonna kill her if you keep doing this." Like,
well,
she basically
psychologically
was, like,
too, she was
hysterical.
like
Yeah,
having,
exactly.
like,
Exactly.
like losing her mind. And this was because, I'm sure we'll get into this more, but she had denied his sexual advances.
Yeah, he was Weinstein before Weinstein.
Yeah, and he literally tortured her, and she was in, I think, a 7-movie contract with him, and this was the first.
Yeah. She did one more.
Barney.
But we can get into this in a second. Well, let's just get through the end of this fucking movie.
Yep.
So she is attacked by the birds. Mitch comes in and gets her. Should have been Jessica. Jessica should have died at this point, but she doesn't. They get her out. They're like, she needs a hospital. I'm like, she does? Like, what? She got some pecs. She's got some scratches.
She's like in shock, though, I think.
She is in shock, yeah. She wakes up like waving her arms, like fighting off, batting
like, I
off
think it's literally, it reminds, I mean, of course this movie reminds me a lot of Jaws, but in Jaws, when the little boy, the shark swims by him and he goes into shock. Like, I think she maybe potentially is going into shock. Like, you know, not just shock, she's going into shock. So, like, get her to a hospital before
okay, fair enough.
Her heart stops or whatever happens when you go into shock.
I don't know when you go into a bird-induced shock. But they decide to go.
I can tell you because when I was in Copenhagen. No, the only thing it did was really kill my buzz.
Oh, poor bird. Poor Buzz. Poor Buzzbird. So they're like, we gotta go. They get in the car. He listens to the radio and we learn
there are birds everywhere.
There's birds all over the place. But we also learned from the radio that there's birds, like, basically this town is shut down. But then there's been, like, little sightings of this shit happening in nearby towns. So it's, like, the idea is that it's spreading. But they get in the car. Kathy, I loved this, actually, when Tippi comes out and she sees all the birds and she goes, no.
Yeah.
Like, the delivery is great. She's like,
And they're like,
she nopes right out of there. But they get her in the car. Kathy wants to bring her goddamn lovebirds, and Mitch lets her. I'd be like, no.
They didn't hurt anybody. That's what she says.
Because they're in a goddamn cage.
They didn't hurt anybody.
But he lets her. So they're just in this car and they're driving away and we see all the birds. Now, I read somewhere, I don't know if this is true, or somebody told me once, that the Hitchcock initially wanted to have a shot of the Golden Gate Bridge with all the, Callie's nodding, with all the birds on it, but it was too expensive.
Yes. So. That it would have cost millions of dollars and taken months to shoot. Yeah. So his videographer or cinematographer was like, please no.
Yeah.
But I did read that this is the only one of Hitchcock's films not to have the end on the title card. The end card, because he wanted audiences to feel that the terror would continue.
Yeah, and it does feel that way.
And I also read that when this movie debuted in the UK, when audiences came out of the theater, they had installed speakers that were playing the sounds of birds cawing.
Ew, that's so mean.
I fucking love Hitchcock. I fucking hate Hitchcock. Take that out. I hate Hitchcock. He's a prick. But he was so sadistic.
Yeah.
I once read somewhere, heard somewhere, it was an actor was saying that he was in an episode of Hitchcock, the show.
Hitchcock Presents.
Yeah, Hitchcock Presents. And he was a young boy, and he kept moving around, and he was supposed to look scared or something, and he kept squiggling, and Hitchcock came over to him and said, if you don't stop moving, I will nail your feet to the floor. And so the little boy, like, stopped moving and looked terrified the whole scene.
But it's like, not cool to talk to children.
No, it's fucking awful. He's like, a nightmare.
It's not cool to be, oh my God.
You need to watch The Girl.
All right, so let's get into this a little bit before we do our rating.
Can I just tell you one more fun fact?
Yes. Before we get into the horrible facts.
I'm just going to read this to you because you can see number 19. This is copy and pasted.
Okay.
I did not write this myself.
Okay.
Much of the production design and lensing style of the birds, with the ultimate attack on the Brenner house, can be seen as a visual influence in M. Night Shyamalan's Signs.
Oh my God. Well, and you know M. Night Shyamalan loves those cameos just like old Al. Loves those cameos.
It all comes back to Signs.
Look at how we blew out the speaker on that one. Oh my God.
Signs,
we're going to have to do Signs one day and then just end this. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. I love it. No.
It's not my fault. I did not write fact number 19.
We've discovered that all signs point to signs.
That's right.
Because it's the horror movie.
That's right.
Somehow. Okay, but let's get into the terribleness that is Alfred Hitchcock, because I just want to address it because I didn't know this shit, really. I knew he was not a nice man and that he wasn't nice to actors, and I had heard some whisperings of him not being, particularly not being nice to Tippi, and then when I went down my little Wikipedia rabbit hole, I understood the extent of it. And he was a very bad dude.
Yeah,
he ruined her career because she would not fuck him.
Yeah, he was like a mentally ill predator for sure.
And I just think it's important to acknowledge. And I was saying to you before, like I've thought of doing Rosemary's Baby on the podcast, and I've abstained because I don't know if I want to talk about this fucking rapist's work.
Right.
And I don't actually think Alfred Hitchcock is better, having learned this.
No, he's fucking awful.
And it's really hard for me because, like, I don't really give a fuck about Woody Allen. It's not hard for me to not watch a Woody Allen movie.
Right.
And I love Hitchcock
But
movies.
it is really crazy, especially I think, though, with Alfred Hitchcock, because he's passed. He's, you know what I mean? He's like he's not historical,
can no longer be held accountable.
Exactly.
In the same way.
And so it's a little easier for me to, like, separate his work from the person, especially, you know, well, I guess the same is true of Woody Allen, though. I knew Alfred Hitchcock's work so intimately before I ever knew anything about the way he was. And I think, I mean, it's easier to really sit in judgment of Woody Allen now because he's still around, he's still making movies.
Right, and you're still like, why?
And you're like, how can you get out of here? You stop making movies. Like, get the fuck out of here. But and if Hitchcock were still alive making movies, I would hope that someone would have brought him to task about all this shit. Right.
And I would argue that the movies that he made, as much as Psycho is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
I would argue that Psycho is not worth the human collateral of the people that he abused.
Right.
But we have Psycho, so it's like, do we talk about it? Do we not talk about? I mean, it's just a tricky situation to be in.
So you should watch The Girl, because the other thing that The Girl brings to light, which again, I don't know how much of this is accurate, but that Hitchcock's wife was the driving force behind a lot of his creative decisions.
I've heard that,
and that he was like really mentally unstable and couldn't get out of his own fog a lot of the times in terms of like creative decision making, and she would watch his movies and fix them for him.
Yeah, I've heard that about her.
So that's kind of an interesting thing. That said, she also knew about his predatory behaviors and let them go.
It's like, what would the world have been like if at that time Alma Hitchcock could have been a director?
Yeah.
You know, it's like so much accommodating is done of men for the sake of genius.
Right.
And like, what if we gave those same accommodations to women who were not sexual predators?
Right?
I mean, it's just insane.
Also, no accommodations are given to women for anything ever.
No.
None. Like, a woman can't do, we can't do anything right.
Yeah, I can't even just, like, give somebody a look.
No. Because if you do, you're a bitch. And if you don't, you're too soft. You're too motherly, or you're not motherly enough.
If I try to sexually harass somebody, forget it. I don't even know. All this is just to say, I just want to acknowledge, like, if we're going to do this fuckers movies, we got to talk about this. And I don't take it lightly that we're doing a movie. I'm really not about separating the art from the artist, honestly. I don't think we can do it anymore responsibly. So we talked about this movie, but we are not talking about it in a vacuum. And I think a lot of his attitudes toward women kind of shine through some of these flicks as well. On that note, what do you want to rate this movie?
Oh boy, well, now it's going to be hard.
I know.
Especially because I've seen The Fucking Girl, and I can't believe I watched this movie and like didn't even really think about that. And now I feel bad what I'm going to give it. But I'm going to give it 4. Okay. It's iconic. Mm-hmm. I saw it when I was really young, and it has always stuck with me. And I think it's, I love the elements. This is essentially against the elements.
Yeah.
So yeah, I give it 4. This is basically Elements meets dinosaurs, because birds are dinosaurs. Gosh. So like 2 of my favorite.
This is the prequel to Jurassic Park.
Exactly. So I give it 4. In terms of scares, I give it 3. I give it 3 because, again, there are scenes that like stuck with me through the years.
Yeah. Fair.
I don't think it's, it's not your typical scary movie. It's not The Conjuring or something like that. There's no jump scares, obviously. But
I feel like that's a new phenomenon.
Yeah, I think so too. There's like a style of movie that is abounding. It's like Ouija and Insidious, and it's all these like creepy jump scare.
Yeah.
This is more of a musical.
Yes.
Slow book scenes. Music. So I give it 3. Okay.
This is tough because it is totally iconic. And when I was a kid, I loved this movie. I still think I'm going to give it a 3, even though, like, look, I'm not trying to take Hitchcock to school in terms of his fucking art direction. You know, it's a beautifully shot movie. It's very cutting edge, and I'm not holding the green screen against him. I just think I'm looking at it more from a structural screenwriting perspective, and it really bugged me this time around how long it took us to get to the actual birds, and then like just the complete lack of payoff in terms of the growth of our characters. I just didn't enjoy the watch this time around, and I didn't look up this Hitchcock shit until after I watched it.
Oops,
so it wasn't even about that.
I feel like this is also hard to watch with someone else.
Yeah,
watching it for the first time, and you're like, sorry, it's like a little, it's slow, it's boring.
Yeah. So, I know it's iconic, and I know it's a great movie in some ways. My experience of watching it this time was a 3. I'm gonna give it a 3. And then Scary, I will give it a 2. I would almost give it a 1, because I really do not think it's scary, but conceptually it's very scary. And I think I do have to, like, put myself in the place of people who saw this movie when it first came out, or people who saw this movie very young. People who saw this movie in our parents' generation were probably scared shitless by it.
Yeah. For sure.
So I'll give it a 2. But now, I mean, you can watch this movie. Don't worry about it. If you're not a scary movie person, you can watch it.
Yeah. Though I think probably non-scary movie people would not like it either.
Our friend Lisa likes it.
She does?
She does. You know, I think it's got like an old Hollywood glam.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
that would appeal to her. Yeah. So if you like old movies, you should watch it. But just watch it knowing that Alfred Hitchcock is a piece of garbage.
POS.
And that's all we got, I think, for today.
Yeah.
Do you have anything? Oh, I guess if you want to do us a big favor, you can go on iTunes and give us 5 stars in the rating and write us a little review. The writing of a review is actually really important. The actual typing out of the words, because that is in large part what iTunes uses to decide like what to sort of promote and show people.
Yeah. It'll help other horror fans find this podcast. Yes. And in the meantime, you can find out what we're watching next week by going on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, though our Instagram's really lacking. But it's at ScreamGirlsPod, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, and you can email us at screamgirlspodcast@gmail.com if you have some formal business to attend to, or you just want to give us like a movie rec.
And if you're listening from Portugal, send us an email, let us know your address, and we'll be there in a few months.
Please write it in English, because we're stupid.
Hey, we can Google Translate.
Okay. Yeah, thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks
and
for
please
listening.
beware of bird poop and beaks.
Bye.
Bye.